Yeah. So with regards, or almost like a follow-on question to that, are there any sort of like bad investments that you should try and avoid, or is there any like definite red flags that you should look out for? Because obviously, if you are new to being an investor, and obviously if you're deciding not to take advice of someone like yourself, is there any kind of red flags that you should be looking for?
I think you have to just clearly understand the reason that you're doing it. That's one thing. I mean, over time, if you look at, there are graphs that show you the sort of the rise of house values over time, and it's never gone down, which I don't know if that's right. It's always gone up. You know, and there are little blips, and you know, we had in 2008, I think, that the prices rose
the recession,
hugely, a bit like, and then they dropped massively. But over time, generally, property prices increase. So if you're holding for the long term, it doesn't matter if it goes up and down a little bit. So it's not, in terms of red flags, there's not, you know, property is classed as one of the safest investment vehicles. I mean, I don't have money in shares particularly, but some people shares, and then there's Bitcoin and all of those things which I don't understand and don't really want to get involved in, and people do make good money that way, but you've got to understand it, and property is much easier, in my opinion, to look at. And there's, you know, you can look at the Nationwide website has graphs that show you the values, which is good. I think you've just got to be clear. If you were buying a house to renovate and sell on, and you didn't renovate it the right way, or you didn't do the right works on it, the value may not be as high at the end as you'd expected, and therefore you might not make that chunk of cash that you want. If you've used a bridging loan, for example, and didn't really understand how bridging loans work and the fees work with that, you might find that the money you've made at the end is eaten up by the bridging loan fees. So you have to, at the beginning, you have to work out all of these things, look at stamp duty costs and solicitors' fees, other legal fees, and the costs of renovation, and know what the costs of renovation are. It's quite often more than a tin of paint from B&Q or whatever. So and there are ways of buying products cheaper if you're a landlord. There are different groups that you can join, so you can get things at trade price. So that helps to bring your costs down. But I think you've just got to be educated a little bit, you know. And there are lots of people out there who haven't done education and have bought a property, and that over time they've renovated it or whatever, or they've lived in it and renovated it and sold it. And that's something that some people do. And that works. It can work very easily for them. But if they're just going in, you know, buying any old property, and they've got, you know, visions of, so perhaps they were buying a house and they were planning on turning it into a 4-bed or 5-bed HMO, house of multiple occupation, and then they find out that in the area they've bought it in, they're not allowed to have an HMO license, then that would be a waste of money for them. They'd have to just then sell it on or rent it as a 3-bed, 4-bed house or whatever it was to start with. So it's just knowing what legislation goes with what